All right, so this is final exam version 4. Let's see here. We have number 1. What is the slope of the line graphed below? So the real easy way to do it, remember, is to count the change in the y over the change in the x, right? So I can see the first clear point here is 0, -6, the y-intercept, and then I follow the line. I don't see any clear points until I get to 5, 0. So that means I have to count how many units up it goes. So this is 6 units up, right? And then 5 units across, right? So change in y, it's up 6, so it's positive 6, and then over 5. So that tells me answer choice C is the correct answer. Okay, any questions there? Okay, next, moving on, is number 2. This one is the right triangle, so therefore we have to use the Pythagorean theorem, right? And okay, I don't think you can see this. So this says 25 is the hypotenuse and 20 is um, the leg. The missing side, the missing leg is x. So we have to manipulate the Pythagorean theorem. So instead of doing a squared plus b squared equals c squared, I'm going to do the hypotenuse squared, subtract the leg, the known leg squared, and then square root that. And that's what this x is equal to. Okay, so do that on the calculator. Square root of 25 squared minus 20 squared, and that gives me 15. So that's simple, right? So as long as you have a calculator to help you out, this should speed up the process. Okay, moving along. Let's see here. What is the following, which of the following is the graph of the equation, negative 3x plus 2y? Okay, so clearly we see that we have to, there are 4 graphs to choose from, right? So we don't have to, I think the best way to do this is to check if there are intercepts, right? If you check for the intercepts, then you'll be able to see, let me zoom in just a bit here. You'll be able to see easily which one the correct graph is, right? All right, so I have to plug in 0 for x, right? So negative 3 times 0 plus 2y is equal to negative 12. So you're left with 2y is equal to negative 12. Divide by 2 and you get y is equal to negative 6. So your y-intercept is 0, negative 6. So right off the bat, I already know this one is incorrect, right? And this one is incorrect. Next, I'm going to um, plug in 0 for y. So negative 3x plus 2 times 0 equals negative 12. So negative 3x is equal to negative 12. Divide by negative 3, and you have x is equal to positive 4. So my x-intercept is 4, 0. So this gives me 4, 0, 0, negative 6. So the correct answer is D. All right, any questions there? All right, moving on then. Okay, we did the multiple versions of this. Number 4, find the equation of the horizontal line that passes through this point, negative 9, negative 7. So remember, horizontal line means the line passes through the y coordinate. So the equation of the line is y equals negative 7. That's it. What would the equation be if it's a vertical line passing through negative 9, 7? Can anyone tell me off the top of their heads? Or really quickly, it should be anyone. You could type it in chat. No one remembers? It's the vertical line passing through the x coordinate. So if it was asking for a vertical line, it would be x is equal to negative 9. Okay? Alright, well, let's continue here. So we have given a is equal to negative 4, b is equal to 2, evaluate the expression. So we just have to substitute, right? When you substitute negative numbers in, you should put parentheses so that the negative is part of the base here, right? And then we have to do plus b squared. So 2 squared times negative 4. So negative 4 plus negative 4 times 2. Okay, now we can do 16 plus 4 times negative 4 is negative 16, and then minus 8. So this is equal to negative 8. And that gives us answer choice A. Any questions there? Okay, so far it's not too bad, right? Easy stuff here. Alright, so next we have, which of the following is a factor of the polynomial? So this looks like we have to factor by grouping, right? That seems to be the case here. So let's factor the GCF of the first two terms. So I'm seeing a 5 and a c. So 5c, and we factor that out, we get 6x minus 5y. Then I move on to the second group. In the second group, I see that there's a factor of a 9d, positive, right? So plus 9d, and I have 6x minus 5y. So the common binomial factor I see is the 6x minus 5y, and the other is the 5c plus 9d. Now, if you look at the answer choices, I don't see a 5c plus 9d, but I do see a 6x minus 5y there. And that's your answer. Moving on, let's see here. We have to figure out, let's do these two problems. Okay, so it says, which of the following is a factor of the polynomial? So clearly, we got to factor this. Now, we talked about the different ways of factoring, right? We've done the AC method of factoring and trial and error method, right? And I've gone over both many times. I do hope that you do eventually get the trial and error method down, because like I said, when you move on to the next course, it's just so much easier if you can do the factoring quicker, right, with the trial and error. So this is what I do. I look at the 2x squared, which is the first term, and the only way we can get 2x squared is by the factors of 2x times x. And then I look at the 33, and that's by doing 3 times 11, right? But the middle term is a positive 25. So if I did 11 here and the 3 here, you see this outer product is 22, right? And the inner is 3x. That gives me 25x. So this is positive and positive. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. And that's probably the easiest way you can approach this. Alright, let's move on. I'm sorry, we should circle the factors, right? We have x plus 11 is the only one that's correct here. Alright, find all solutions of the equation x squared plus x plus is equal to 12. So this is a quadratic equation, and the way we solve quadratic equations is by factoring, right? Or by using the quadratic formula. So first we need to set this equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 12 on both sides. So I get x squared plus x minus 12 is equal to 0. Next, I factor, and I can see this factors into x plus 4 and x minus 3. And that gives me the positive 1x in the middle, right? So please be careful of that. Next, I see that we have this, so don't forget, this is equal to 0. So I have x plus 4 is equal to 0, x minus 3 is equal to 0. So that means x is equal to negative 4, or x is equal to positive 3. Okay, any questions with this problem? Okay, so hopefully everyone got that one. Let's move on then. Let's go on to number 9 and 10. All right, so this one we have to simplify using the laws of exponents here, right? Okay, so according to the laws of exponents, I can add, if they have the same base, and they're being multiplied, I can add, right? So that means um, I have x, oh no, didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. Negative, let me zoom back in here. Okay, so I have x to the, oh gosh, what is going on? Sorry about that. I have x to the negative 6 plus 7 plus negative 7, right? So that gives me x to the negative 6. So remember, negative exponents need to be changed to positive. So you move it to the denominator. You do 1 over x to the 6. So what do I have here then? I have 3y to the 6 over x to the 6, right? And that's answer choice B. Moving on. Uh, okay, number 10 is an equation, right? And we have, as you can see, a fraction and a fraction. So the way we want to approach this is to find the LCD, right? In this case, or in this case, the fractions, there's only one fraction on each side, right? So you can also cross multiply. Okay, so there are other problems where it's not going to be just a single fraction on each side. That's the case where you have to multiply by the LCD. Okay, so in this case, because it's just one fraction, you do have the option to just cross multiply. So let's do that since we do have that easier option. So I'm going to do 12 times the quantity x plus 6 is equal to 22 times the quantity x plus 3. So what I mean by cross multiplying is you're multiplying diagonally, and you can only do that when there's one single fraction equal to another fraction. Then you distribute, you get 12x plus 72 is equal to 22x plus 66. Now we have to move all the x's to the left-hand side, right? And move all the non-x's to the right-hand side. So I'm going to subtract 22. That gives me negative 10x is equal to, then I have to subtract 72 to both sides, and I get negative 6. Lastly, you divide by negative 10 on both sides. So you have x is equal to, and you should reduce the fraction, 3 over 5. That gives me answer choice C. Okay. Next is a radical expression. You do want to simplify all radicals. Therefore, um, I look at 8 radical 2. That's already simplified, right? And then I look at the 3 radical 50, which can be simplified here, right? So this is basically minus 3 times radical 25 times radical 2, which is minus 3 times 5 times radical 2, which finally gives us minus 15 radical 2. So now I bring the 8 radical 2 down, and I see these are like radicals. So 8 minus 15 is negative 7 root 2. And that is answer choice C. All right, any questions with that? Okay, moving on. All right, we have to factor completely here. Remember, these problems often lead to a difference of squares, okay? So if you see something squared minus a different thing squared, that's your difference of squares, okay? So since there are two terms, and I see there's actually a GCF here, right? So GCF for 96 and 50 gives me 6. Okay, so let's factor out a 6, and then I see that a y is also part of the GCF. So 96 divided by 6, that gives me 16, and then x squared, minus 150 divided by 6 gives me 25. So this is 25. We factored one of the y's out, so we have y squared here. See, this is a difference of squares here, right? 16x squared minus 25x squared. So that's the same thing as looking at it as 4x quantity squared minus 5y quantity squared, right? That's your something squared minus something else squared. So this factors further, right? So you should know this is 4x plus 5y times 4x minus 5y. And that's the completely factored form. So I can see that it is answer choice D. Right? You see the order of the factors listed? The order doesn't matter, okay? You can write the 6y last if you want, although it's not conventional to do that. All right, moving on, we have the graph of the solution to this inequality. So we're going to solve it just like we did in terms of our equation, our single variable equation, right? So we move all the x's to the left. So if I subtract 5x, I have 8x minus 5x is negative 13x. And I'm going to add 2 to both sides. The inequality is a greater than or equal to, right? So add 2 and I get 52, right? And then I do 52 divided by negative 13 on both sides. So remember, this is the important step here. When you divide or multiply by negative, the inequality sign reverses. So now this is x is less than or equal to negative, negative 4. Right? So what does that graph of that look like? If you have negative 4 here, it's a closed circle going towards negative infinity. So that means answer choice A is the correct answer. Okay. Let's do the last two on this page. So we have to multiply, right? So the multiplication for this means you're going to distribute 2x to x squared, 2x to 2x, 2x to this negative 3. This negative 5 goes to the x squared, 2x, and negative 3, right? So let's write that out here. We have the first one is 2x cubed, second is plus 4x squared, and the third is minus 6x. Then I move on to the negative 5, and I have negative 5x squared minus 10x plus 15. Combine like terms, right? So combining like terms gives me 2x cubed. Then I have 4x squared minus 5x squared, right? So 4x squared minus 5x squared is minus x squared. Then I have minus 6x minus 10x, that's minus 16x. And then lastly, plus 15. So 2x cubed minus x squared minus 16x plus 15 is answer choice A. All right. Simplify completely. Radical 2 times radical 14. So you're doing distributive property here, right? We're doing radical 2 times radical 14 and then radical 2 times 4 radical 2. So the way I like to do these is whatever the radical is that's being distributed, I kind of look for that inside of the parentheses right here. This radical 14 is actually radical 2 times radical 7, right? So when I do radical 2 times radical 2, I know right away that's 2 and then radical 7. And for the next one, I have radical 2 times 4 radical 2, so that's 4 times 2, right? Radical 2 times radical 2 is 2. So now I have 2 radical 7 plus 8. And that's your answer. Okay, so that's answer choice C. All right, let's see here. We have a couple pages left. Okay, number 16. We have to simplify completely. So we have a polynomial divided by a monomial, right? And in those cases, you just divide the monomial into every term of the numerator. So if I were to write this out as individual pieces here, what does it look like? It looks like negative 12x to the 17th over negative 3x squared, and then negative 9x to the 6th over negative 3x squared, and then positive 6x squared over negative 3x squared. So we just simplify each of these. Individually, we have negative 12 over negative 3 is positive 4. X to the 17 over x to the x squared is what? X to the 15. The next one is positive 3 x to the 4th. And the last term is minus 2 because the x squareds cancel out. Okay? So what is that? That is answer choice D. Right? So don't mess up with those signs, otherwise you might wrongly choose C. All right, number 17. We're simplifying these radicals here, right? So remember that you're using our properties or laws of radicals, right? You can write all of this under one radical. That means 2 times 70 over 5, right? And we all know 70 divided by 5 is 14. So I could cancel this out and put 14. Now, what's remaining is 2 times 14, which I can write as 2 times 2 times 7. So I see that there's a 2 radical 7 there. And again, you can also type that into your calculator and get the correct answer as well. All right. Let's move on here. We have a couple more down here. Yeah, let's do this. We have, let me move up here. Okay. We have to simplify completely, but this is not multiplication, right? There's a minus sign in between the two groups, right? So we have to distribute and remove parentheses. So in the first group, there's no negative, so you can distribute the positive, just simply remove the parentheses. In the second group, there's a minus sign, so you have to distribute this negative. So this becomes plus 8x squared plus 2x minus 2. So 19x squared plus 18x squared, right? As you can see, these are the like terms. We get 27x squared. And then the next like term is negative 18x plus 2x. So that's minus 16x. And then lastly, 20 minus 2 is minus 18. And as you can, I'm sorry, this is plus 18. And as you can see here, 27x squared minus 16x plus 18, that's D. Any questions? All right. Number 19. Solve for y. So I can identify y being on the right-hand side, and there's a plus 5x there, and then times a 4 to that y, right? So we have to subtract the 5x to get the y term by itself. So z minus 5x is equal to 4y. Then we divide by 4 on both sides. So we have y is equal to z minus 5x over 4, right? An alternative way to write this, in case they have this as one of the answer choices, is to do 0 over 4 minus 5 over 4x, like that. Now I see that the first way is written in answer choice B. Okay, we're approaching the end of our exam soon. Alright, so we have to find the equation of the line passing through these 2 points, and we have to write it in slope-intercept form. So first, we need to find the slope. So here's my x1, y1, x2, y2, and the slope formula, in case you forgot, is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? Change in y over change in x. So we have negative 18 minus 14 over 3 minus negative 5. So numerator is negative 32 over 3 plus 5 is 8. And that gives us negative 4. So once we have our slope, we can plug in ordered pair. And I like to personally use point slope form, but since most people are more comfortable with slope intercept here, we'll do that, okay? So we have y is equal to mx plus b. So we substitute y, so 14 is equal to, m is negative 4, x is negative 5 plus b. So 14 is equal to negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20. And then lastly, we have to subtract 20 on both sides. We get negative 6 is equal to b. Okay, so what's the equation of the line? We have, I'll write it in blue, y is equal to negative 4x minus 6. And that means answer choice B is the correct answer. All right, we have 5 more problems left. Okay, are we doing okay so far? I hope this is, everything that we're reviewing is making sense to you. If not, please type in chat and just ask away, okay? So number 21, we have to find the slope and y-intercept for this equation, right? This is in our standard form. We have to manipulate it so it says y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to move the 4x to the other side. So I have negative 7y is equal to, and make sure you write the term with the x first. So we subtracted 4x, and we have the negative 42 here. Next, we divide both sides by negative 7. So we have y is equal to negative 4 over negative 7 is positive 4 over 7 times x. And then negative 42 over negative 7 is positive 6. So that tells me my slope is here and my y-intercept is there. So m is equal to 4 over 7 and b is equal to 6. Right? Y-intercept is 0, 6. So what do we see? Slope and y-intercept. So answer choice C. Any questions? Okay. In this next problem here, we have to use our laws of exponents again, right? And simplify this. So I'm going to work on the variables first. So here I'm going to do x to the 6 over x to the 5th is equal to x to the 1st. Right? And then y to the negative 4th raised to the 4th power over y to the negative 30th. So I know the numerator is y to the negative 16 over y to the negative 30. We could use our quotient rule of exponents here. So this is y to the negative 16 minus negative 30 gives us plus 30, right? So y is to the 14th power, right? And lastly, 32 over 16 is equal to 2 in the numerator. We have x, y to the 14th, and that is answer choice A. Any questions with this? All right, so practice those until you get pretty comfortable with those laws. Okay. All right, we have last 3 here. Okay, so I hope you remember how to do the system of equations. You do have to, remember I showed you how to do it on the TI-36X Pro. You can type the system into that calculator and get the solution of both x and y, right? And the solution of a system is where they intersect, where these two lines intersect, in case you forgot. But let's do it by hand. So I noticed that they want us to solve for the x coordinate, which means Oftentimes, if you cancel out the y's, you would get it in one shot. But I already see that I can just multiply the first equation by 4 and cancel out the x's, solve for y, and then solve for x, right? Let's just do it that way. So the first equation, I'm going to multiply this by 4 on both sides. So 4 to both sides. And I get 4x plus 16y is equal to 12. Now I can add these two equations. So I get 0x, right, plus 21y is equal to 0. Therefore, 21y is equal to 0, and y is equal to 0. So that was easy. I can now solve for x. So I take the first equation in its original form, and I substitute y0. So what do I get? X is equal to 3. So that's answer choice B. Okay, so you should definitely practice typing it into the calculator as well and make sure you get the correct answer. Okay, otherwise on the day of the test you might like not know how to properly do it and get the wrong or not even get the answer. Number 24, solve for x. So right now we have 30 plus 2x is equal to 2 times the quantity 3 plus 4x. So since there are parentheses, you have to distribute and remove those parentheses first, right? So I have 30 plus 2x is equal to 6 plus 8x. I'm going to gather my x's to the left-hand side. So I'm going to subtract x and subtract 30, right? So subtract 30 and subtract 8x, I meant to say, not x. So I have negative 6x, I'll write it up here, is equal to negative, oh, that's not it, negative 24. Then we divide both sides by negative 6 to get x is equal to positive 4, which is our answer choice C. Okay, last but not least, if y represents a number, so y is our number, which equation is a correct translation of the sentence? So 92 less than 2 times the number, right? So we remember this goes after, right? 92 less, right? Means you subtract 92 from something else. What do we subtract it from? 2 times a number. So it goes after this. So I have 2 times a number and then 92 less than that. So minus 92. And our is our equal sign, 60. So I look over here and I see that answer choice C is the correct answer. All right, any questions with this final exam? We just completed 25 questions in 33 minutes. Okay, and with enough practice, you can do it just as quickly, but don't just rush. Make sure you are careful and you have the full hour and 50 minutes to do this test, to take this test, okay?